You are standing on the massive walls of Constantinople, feeling the ancient stone beneath your feet still warm from the day's sun. It is May 28th, 1453, just after midnight. Behind you lies the greatest city in Christendom, glowing with thousands of candles and torches as its people pray in churches that have stood for 1,000 years. Before you, stretching into the darkness, are 100,000 Ottoman soldiers and the largest cannon ever built by human hands. Your name is Theophilus, and you are one of 7,000 defenders holding these walls tonight. The leather grip of your sword is slick with sweat despite the cool night air. You can hear the prayers of women and children echoing up from the streets below, mixing with the distant sound of Ottoman drums that have been beating without pause for 53 days. The metallic taste of fear sits on your tongue like a copper coin. For 53 days, those drums have never stopped. For 53 days, Sultan Mehmed II, a 21-year-old conqueror who dreams in Latin and speaks 7 languages, has thrown everything he has at these walls. Walls that have turned back Persians, Avars, Arabs, and Bulgarians for over a millennium. Walls so thick that 4 carriages could ride side by side along their top. Walls that have never fallen. But something is different tonight. You can feel it in the unnatural silence that has fallen over the Ottoman camp. The massive bronze cannon, the one they call Basilica, which requires 60 oxen and 200 men just to move, has gone quiet. For weeks it has fired stone balls weighing 1,200 pounds, each shot shaking the earth like God's own thunder. The wall section in front of you, near the St. Romanus Gate, has been pounded into rubble and hastily rebuilt with wood and barrels of earth. It will not hold. Your ancestor fought here when Attila the Hun threatened these gates. Your grandfather stood watch when the Fourth Crusade, Christians supposedly coming to help, betrayed the city and sacked it in 1204. That wound never healed. The empire never recovered. What was once a realm stretching from Spain to Syria is now just this: one magnificent city and a few miles of surrounding territory. The last ember of Rome itself. Constantinople, the city of Constantine, built where Europe meets Asia, where the Mediterranean flows into the Black Sea. For 1,100 years, it has been the richest, most sophisticated city on earth. When Paris and London were muddy villages, Constantinople had running water, streetlights, and libraries holding the complete works of ancient Greece and Rome. It has been the guardian of knowledge, the barrier between East and West, the place where civilization survived the Dark Ages. And tonight, you are watching it die. A hand grips your shoulder. It is Giovanni Giustiniani, the Italian mercenary who commands the defense. His armor is dented from weeks of fighting, and there is a bandage on his left arm where a Turkish arrow found its mark yesterday. He says nothing, but his eyes tell you everything. Even he knows the end is coming. Down below, in the Church of Holy Wisdom, the Hagia Sophia, Emperor Constantine the Thafts is praying. Not the Constantine who founded this city, but the last Constantine who will die defending it. He is 48 years old, and he has no illusions. Yesterday he rode through the streets giving away his remaining gold, releasing servants from their duty, asking forgiveness from those he might have wronged. Tonight he removed his imperial purple, dressed as a common soldier, and told his remaining nobles, "The city is fallen and I am still alive." 3 a.m., the drums begin again. But these drums are different, faster, more urgent, accompanied now by cymbals and the eerie wailing of Ottoman war music. You look down and see movement in the darkness. Thousands upon thousands of torches suddenly flare to life, and you realize the entire Ottoman army is advancing, not in waves, not in sections. Everyone, all at once. The first wave hits like a storm. These are the Bashi bazooks, irregular troops, convicts and adventurers promised plunder if they survive, a quick death if they retreat. They carry ladders and grappling hooks, and they throw themselves at the walls with the desperate courage of men who have nothing to lose. Arrows fall like rain. Stones hurled from below clatter against shields. You thrust your spear down into the mass of bodies, feeling it strike flesh, pulling it back to strike again. The air fills with smoke from Greek fire, that ancient Byzantine weapon, the secret formula lost even now, that turns men into living torches. For an hour, the Bashi bazooks die by the hundreds, and the walls hold. Then Mehmed sends in his second wave, the Anatolian regulars, trained soldiers with better armor and discipline. They push forward over the bodies of the first wave, and now the fighting becomes desperate. Hand to hand, sword against sword, you slip in blood that you hope is not your own. 4 a.m. The sun is still an hour away. Your arm feels like lead, every breath tears at your lungs, and then you hear something that freezes your blood, the sound of the Janissaries. The Janissaries, the elite corps of the Ottoman army, Christian boys taken as children, converted to Islam, and trained to be the most fearsome fighting force in the world. They wear distinctive white caps and carry scimitars that can cut through armor. They do not charge in chaos, they advance in perfect formation, fresh, rested, and utterly disciplined. Behind them comes Mehmed himself on a white horse, surrounded by his personal guard. This is when Giustiniani falls. A bullet from a primitive handgun, one of the first ever used in warfare, tears through his breastplate. He staggers, blood spreading across his chest, and his men carry him toward a ship in the harbor. You watch him go and know that hope goes with him. The soldiers around you see their commander leaving and their faces change. Fear becomes terror. The Janissaries find the weak point in the wall, that section destroyed by the basilica cannon and repaired with wood and earth. They push through in the pre-dawn darkness like water through a crack in a dam. Someone has left a small postern gate, the Kirkoporta, unlocked after a sortie. 50 Janissaries pour through this forgotten door, climb the inner wall, and suddenly the Turkish banner is flying from a tower. 5 a.m. The sun breaks over the Asian shore, and in its red light you see that the walls are breached in a dozen places. The Janissaries are in the city. Ottoman soldiers are streaming through the gates. It is over. You see Emperor Constantine for the last time. He has torn off anything that might identify him as royalty and rides toward the breach with his remaining companions. You hear him shout, "The city is fallen, and I am still alive." He dismounts, draws his sword, and charges into the mass of Janissaries. You never see him again. His body will never be found. Some say he died like any other soldier, trampled in the chaos. Others whisper that he turned to marble, sleeping beneath the Golden Gate, waiting to wake when Constantinople needs him once more. The next 3 days are a nightmare of blood and fire. Mehmed had promised his soldiers 3 days of plunder, an ancient custom of war. They take it. Thousands die. Thousands more are enslaved. Ancient libraries burn. Mosaics that survived 1,000 years are torn down for their gold. In the Hagia Sophia, people huddled for sanctuary are dragged out in chains. The building that was Christianity's greatest church for 900 years is converted to a mosque. A wooden minaret goes up by nightfall. But Mehmed also does something unexpected. After 3 days, he stops the plunder. He orders the city rebuilt. He invites Greeks, Armenians, and Jews back, promising religious tolerance. He sits on the throne in the Blacherne Palace and declares himself Caesari Rum, Caesar of Rome. In his mind, he has not destroyed the Roman Empire. He has become it. The Ottoman Empire will now rule for another 400 years, and Constantinople, now Istanbul, will remain one of the world's great cities. Yet something profound ended that morning of May 29, 1453. The last continuous thread connecting back to Julius Caesar, to Augustus, to Marcus Aurelius, finally snapped. The city that preserved Plato and Aristotle through the Dark Ages had fallen. Scholars fled west with their precious manuscripts, helping to spark the Renaissance in Italy. The old trade routes through Constantinople were now controlled by the Ottomans, pushing Europeans to seek new paths to Asia, which is why 39 years later Columbus would sail west looking for India. You survived that night, though part of you died with the city. Years later, you will tell your grandchildren, born under Ottoman rule in a city that looks the same but feels utterly different, about the last night of Rome. You will tell them about walls that stood for 1,000 years, about an emperor who chose death over surrender, about the moment when the medieval world ended and the modern age began. The fall of Constantinople was not just a city changing hands. It was the final death of antiquity, the end of the long, long shadow of Rome. Every map was redrawn, every power calculation changed. The Mediterranean world that had revolved around this city for over a millennium had to imagine a new center of gravity. Tonight, when you walk past the Hagia Sophia, now a museum, no longer church or mosque, but a testament to all that was and all that changed. You can still see scorch marks from that night. The stone remembers. And if you stand very quiet in the pre-dawn hours, you might still hear the echo of Byzantine prayers mixing with Ottoman drums, the sound of an empire dying and another being born, the moment when everything changed forever. Some endings are not just endings. They are doorways through which history walks into a new room, leaving everything different in its wake. Constantinople fell on May 29, 1453, but in falling it transformed the world.